Like, nah. In October, the US rolled tanks up to the crossing point at Checkpoint Charlie as a show of strength. The Soviets did the same, and the two were in a standoff. They stayed like that for 16 hours, and the world braced for nuclear Armageddon. Thankfully, though, Kennedy called Khrushchev their—
No way that actually happened. Wait. Whoa. Wheel it back. Welcome to the channel, my wonderful people. For the very first time ever, your fellow Gen Z Brit is going to be diving into the Cold War Oversimplified. Now, the Cold War is something that I'm pretty sure was very much an influence in a lot of your lives growing up. I think by the time I was born, I don't think there was really much of a scare at all to do the Cold War stuff around my way. I don't know. But it's to say, I'm interested to dive into this a little bit more and to learn more about stuff because I love learning. And that's why I'm on this journey of curiosity. Road to 60k, guys. Subscribe channel if you want to tag along, and don't forget to smash that like button as well. Help boost me in the algorithm, guys. You know the support is always appreciated. And guys, look, what a journey it's been so far, and I've been loving every second of it with you guys. So look, if you're excited for this one, smash that like button, like I said. And with that being said, let's dive on into this one, shall we? Let's go.
The year is 1917. Fighting rages on the Eastern Front of the First World War. Both Germany and Russia are on the brink of collapse. Soldier, I need you to bring me this man. Got it. Found him, sir. What? No, not Lenin.
John Lennon.
Lenin, the
That's
Russian
funny.
communist. What? Why would I need a beetle? Lenin, the Russian communist. He was exiled to Switzerland. You know what? I'll do it myself.
Capitalism by Karl Marx.
Who wants to start a revolution?
Bro, it's not even capitalism, isn't it? It was not Marxism by Karl Marx. Am I tripping? Unless that's just a funny play on word. Like, is he to say that he was like actually a capitalist? What?
Who wants to start a revolution?
Okay. That's so dramatic. Okay, that's a smooth intro.
The Germans put Lenin on a train and sent him all the way back to Russia, hoping he and his mates would create an internal crisis. And
hold up, is this too loud? Okay, no, we're good. Sorry.
Put Lenin on a train and sent him all the way back to Russia, hoping he and his mates would create an internal crisis. And create an internal crisis they did. The government was overthrown, and Lenin was in charge.
Wow.
He immediately pulled out of the First World War, made the country communist, started a 3-year-long civil war, got shot, broke the economy, caused a famine, and then he died. On his deathbed he said, "Hey man, tell whoever's in charge of giving people jobs not to let that jerk Stalin become the next leader." By the way, who did I put in charge of giving people jobs? That would be Stalin, sir. Stalin was a rising force in the Communist Party. He still had some opponents, but conveniently, all of them were arrested or disappeared. So that was lucky. And so Stalin took...
Dude, that's funny. Conveniently all arrested. All the potential threats just eliminated.
Opponents, but conveniently, all of them were arrested or disappeared. So that was lucky. And so Stalin took over. He implemented his 5-year plans, which transformed the country from an agriculture-based economy to an industrial one. And like Lenin before him, he reigned with terror. Anyone who dared criticize or oppose him would either be killed or left to rot in the horrendous Soviet work camps. Then a short man with a silly mustache tried to take over the world, punched the Russians all the way to Moscow, and then the Russians, with some help from their faithful ally, the Winter, punched them all the way back to Berlin. At this point, being allies, America, the UK, and the Soviet Union were good chums. They held a couple of conferences near the end of the war to decide what would happen next. Hey Stalin, after all your trials and...
Let me just make sure I get it right. So America, UK...
At this point, being allies, America, the UK, and the Soviet Union
and
were
Russia.
Good chums.
Okay.
They held a couple of conferences.
Because from what I hear today, Russia doesn't get as good of a rep with, especially America, or is that more Ukraine? I don't know. Guys, do you guys, if you know, let me know. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Near the end of the war to decide
but they were
what would
allies
happen
here.
Next. Hey Stalin, after all your trials and tribulation, you must be pretty happy to be standing here in Berlin. Tsar Alexander made it all the way to Paris. Just give me a second. Hey man, I think something's up with Stalin. I know, right? What should we do? Shall I tell him about the bomb? Yeah, tell him about the bomb. That will scare him. So, we got this crazy new big A-bomb that can destroy an entire city in one go. Yes, my spies told me already. Oh wait, I meant to act surprised. Wow, that's amazing. He already knew.
He probably did already know, didn't he?
Am I sure I want to send nuclear secrets via unsecure public coffee shop Wi-Fi? Am I ever? Dude, use a VPN.
But this is like 1917 as well, isn't it? So okay, this is ad promo. I was gonna say there's no way they would have had the actual laptop
coffee shop
or
Wi-Fi.
Starbucks.
Am I ever? Dude, use a VPN.
Use VPN.
And speaking of
Ad
VPNs,
promo.
if, like me, you take
That
internet
was very
safety
slick.
seriously, then
Very
you
very
need
slick. We're gonna
simple
skip
to
that
use,
though.
with just the you that for some reason has been mobile and % off. That's
Shout out to
nordvpn.com/oversimplified.
NordVPN. They should
Also in
sponsor
the
me,
description
man.
box down below.
Cause that's some
Now,
serious,
where were we?
serious stuff.
Oh, yeah. Does the A stand for atomic or ass? Then
Oh.
America dropped their big A-bomb on Japan, and World War II
Ooh.
officially came to an end. Hooray, we won. Okay, so now it's time to establish the New World Order. Stalin,
World War II was just so simplified just then. You're telling me a bomb dropped and it's done? Like, wow.
to an end. Hooray,
I know it was
we
deeper
won.
than that.
Okay, so now it's time to establish the New World Order. Stalin, you're
New
in
World
charge
Order.
of Eastern Europe. Now, we want you to let them all hold elections. Oh yes, of course. Elections. And these elections will be free and fair, right? Oh yes, certainly. Free and fair.
Definitely
Free
not.
and fair.
Definitely
communist,
not.
communist, 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 communist. If that's not free and fair, I don't know what is. Throughout
That's so
Eastern
funny.
Europe, Soviet puppet governments were established as a buffer zone between the USSR and the West, with Churchill proclaiming an Iron Curtain had descended across the continent. The relationship between the
Iron
old allies
Curtain.
was deteriorating fast. Over the next few years, the British intervened in the Greek Civil War to prevent a communist takeover. In Turkey, the Russians began demanding more control of Turkey's sea access routes, which prompted the US to send their largest battleship to Turkey for a friendly visit. After World War II, Iran was now occupied by both the Soviets and the British, with an agreement to both pull out once the war was over. The British pulled out. Stalin was like, you know what? I think I might stick around. All in favor
Stalin,
of kicking
man.
Russia out of Iran? You want to know something?
The whole
You
year.
guys suck. Pressure from the UN forced the Soviets to leave, and with the establishment of NATO, the Soviets had no doubt that the West was out to encircle and destroy them. And America announced the Truman Doctrine, in which they basically said,
Truman
those guys are not cool, cannot be trusted, and we will do everything we can to prevent the spread of communism around the world. Many view this moment as the official declaration
I was gonna
of the Cold
say,
War.
because this seems like a turning point in terms of their relationship now, to where they're almost basically looking like allies. I mean, ops now, opposition, opponents to each other.
Around the world, many view this moment
Enemies.
as the official declaration of the Cold War. Back in Europe, everyone was living in a post-apocalyptic void brought on by the Second World War. Cities
Terrible.
reduced to rubble, not enough food. It was terrible. This is great. The more they suffered, the more likely it is they'll turn to communism. Dude, you're really messed up. What's wrong with you? My father used to punish me severely. America realized what was going on and quickly made a
Right.
move. Under the Marshall Plan, they sent $12 billion to Western Europe for its economic recovery. The countries of Stalin's Eastern Bloc looked on with envy. Hey, Czechoslovakia, you want to come get some economic aid? Yeah, but I have to check with my mom first. Sorry,
Right.
America. I can't come. This was a full-on economic battle raging between capitalism and
see.
communism in Europe. If the Western nations developed faster and better than the East, that would be a defeat for Stalin. So he set up his own rival economic recovery plan, which he called Comecon, and he also set up Cominform, which gave him more political control over the Eastern Bloc. But nowhere did this economic
see.
battle rage harder than in the city of Berlin. Caught over
Berlin.
100 miles behind Soviet lines,
'Cause
the
wasn't there a
city had been
Berlin Wall?
divided up between the Allies, and the
Yeah.
Western segments were still under Western control. East Berliners could travel freely to West Berlin, see the economic prosperity, and think, maybe this communism thing ain't so great after all. I'm gonna have fun tonight.
Oh, that's not good for Stalin.
You're home late. Oh, Stalin. I was just out with my friends. Friends? You stink of capitalism. You're out engaging in
Oh.
imperialist debauchery again. I swear, Ivan, I can't keep doing this. Stalin wanted the West out. So he said, hey, guess what? I'm blockading all of your supply routes to West Berlin. What are you going to do about it? I suppose we'll just fly the supplies in.
Oh, that is so triggering. I can imagine. That's actually what he did,
All
right?
Truman, you win this round. The Berlin airlift was an incredible undertaking and
The
a major
Berlin
success
airlift.
for the Western Allies, and Stalin ended his blockade of West Berlin. His aggressive actions worried the West, but not as much as this did.
Huh? What?
The Soviet Union had developed their very own atomic bomb. The
okay.
USA no longer had a nuclear monopoly. The world
Right.
now knew that if a major war broke out between the two superpowers, it would be more destructive than anyone could imagine. So it was
Whoa.
comforting when Stalin came out and said that war between the Soviet Union and the West was unlikely. Oh, wait, inevitable. He said it was inevitable. Hey, you know who I haven't checked in on in a while? My good friend China. Whoa, What happened to you?
Whoa.
What happened to them was a full-blown civil war that had been going on since 1927. The People's Liberation Army, under the leadership of Mao Zedong, successfully defeated the Republic of China, who fled to Taiwan. The now communist China and the Soviet Union signed a mutual defense treaty. This was terrible news for the West. But wait. There's more. After the Second World War, Korea was divided along the 38th parallel. In the north, the Soviets set up a communist regime. In the south, America set up an anti-communist regime. Both were led by very sweet-looking old men, but don't let that deceive you. They were both ruthless dictators, and both dreamed of reuniting Korea under their own regime. Now that he had the bomb, Stalin was feeling a little more cocky, and he finally gave Kim permission to attack. The North launched a surprise invasion of the South on June 25th, 1950. With Soviet aid, the North Koreans steamrolled through, taking Seoul in just 3 days and replacing one ruthless dictator with another. The UN were freaking out and quickly created an emergency force made up of troops from 16 countries to defend the South. The West still held Busan and made landings at Incheon near Seoul. They pushed the North Koreans out of Seoul, replacing the ruthless dictator that had replaced the first ruthless dictator with the same ruthless dictator that had previously been replaced by the new ruthless dictator.
No way!
And the West then continued all the way up the Korean peninsula. At this point, China was getting worried that the UN may just keep going. The US had sent this guy to lead the operation. After winning the Pacific theater of World War II, General Douglas MacArthur's head was big and his balls were bigger. He reassured President Truman that there was absolutely no way at all that the Chinese would ever get involved. Meanwhile, 500,000 Chinese troops were crossing into Korea. Nuke 'em. No. Nuke 'em. No. Oh, come on! You're fired. The US considered the nuclear option, but now that the Soviets also had the bomb, they didn't want to risk all-out global destruction. The communists pushed the West right back almost to the exact same spot they had all started from, and they ended up in a stalemate, where they remained until both sides finally agreed to work towards a peace settlement in 2018. Back in America...
No, but you know what's actually kind of going through my head right now, guys? And this is kind of like off topic, but not really. I'm not saying I know. I'm just saying from the little bits of stuff I'm starting to dive a little bit deeper into, I didn't even realize just how much countries were being aided by bigger powers for their own benefit. Like, they're not doing it. It's not that they're not doing it for them. Like the US isn't helping some of these like not as developed countries because they genuinely want to help. Like, it does seem like it's either politically incentivized or economically incentivized or whatever it is. And the same with Russia or the USSR in this point. I don't know. What do you guys think about that? I don't know, because this is like, the more I learn, the more I dive into these things, the more I'm starting to realize, like, bro, this is all like just, it's like, you know, it's like, what do you call it? Like a proxy war, like fighting on behalf of a bigger country or something like that. Like, I don't know. I could be waffling though. I could be waffling. You guys let me know what you think about that.
Pushed the West right back almost to the exact same spot they had all started from. And
because I generally would be thinking that all these civil wars going on and stuff is generally between, I mean, of course it's probably generally between the two countries themselves, but then it's been like encouraged by the superpowers at this point. At least that's what it's looking like.
In a stalemate,
I didn't realize.
Where they remained until both sides finally agreed to work towards a peace settlement in 2018. Back in America, Americans decided they wanted a new president who would be tough on communism. So they elected famed World War II General Eisenhower, who is really hard to draw. It's 1953. Hey, Stalin, how you doing? Oh, he's dead.
Oh,
he had a cerebral hemorrhage, and his reign of terror kinda came back to bite him in the ass, because he had imprisoned all of his best doctors, and those that were left were too terrified to treat him. The new leader, Nikita Khrushchev, called a meeting and said, "Hey guys, you know how Stalin was imprisoning and murdering us all for doing basically nothing? Yeah, he was kind of a jerk. I'm really not sure how this is news to you." Khrushchev went on a campaign of de-Stalinization. Statues of Stalin were taken down, Stalingrad was renamed, and Khrushchev announced that he wanted the Soviet people to be happy and would allow greater freedom in the Soviet Union. So how did that work out? Well, an uprising in East Germany was brutally suppressed, a revolution in Hungary was brutally suppressed, and demonstrations in Poland were brutally suppressed. Although he did finally allow some mild reforms. Back in the Soviet Union, he permitted more cultural expression, but then began banning stuff based on his own personal taste. Modern art looks like a child urinated on a canvas. Banned. Jazz music sounds like the feeling of needing to fart. Banned. Your poetry is really depressing. How could anyone in the Soviet Union be depressed? You're banned. Khrushchev wanted the Soviet people to be happy, but not like that, or that, or that. Young people began enjoying abhorrent Western pop culture. Son, remove that disgusting imperialist apparel at once. Shut up, Dad. You can't tell me what to do. Well, would you look at that? Turns out he can tell me what to do. The West had initially liked the cut.
Is that what was actually going on? Like, people really can't say their opinion and stuff. Whoa, it's like John Lennon. Imperialist is crazy as well. Ooh, drama.
Or that. Young people began enjoying abhorrent Western pop culture.
I love the
Son,
West.
remove that disgusting imperialist apparel at once.
Eesh.
Shut up, Dad. You can't tell me what to do. Well, would you look at that? Turns out he can tell me what to do. The West had initially liked the cut of Khrushchev's jib, but world events soon soured relations even more. The two sides were spying on each other a whole lot throughout the Cold War. The KGB had spies and informants in nearly every aspect of Western life and government.
Whoa.
So much so that whenever the US tried to send spies into the Soviet Union, the KGB were usually ready to arrest them on the spot. Members of the Manhattan Project aided the Soviet Union in acquiring the bomb. Some American officials believed they were on the wrong side. I'll sell you 3 secrets for $5 million. Okay,
Wow.
go ahead. The Allies are digging a tunnel under East Berlin to tap your communications. There's an American agent living at this address in Moscow, and sometimes, when I'm home alone, I like to put on my wife's dresses, sit in the corner, and cry for hours.
Okay. All right.
Very interesting. In America, fear took hold during the Red Scare and the McCarthy trials. American values imploded as fear of communism collided with freedom of thought and expression, and communist kind of became a buzzword thrown around to describe anything people didn't like. Hollywood? Communist. Your next door neighbor's dog? Communist. When the grocery store cashier asks if you need a bag when you clearly can't carry 10 tubs of baconaise in your hands? Communist. But one area in...
Do you know what? That's actually really interesting. I mean, you see how the word communist is infiltrating like pop culture or like the culture at the time, right? As this word, kind of like this Trump word that you use to just say, describe something you don't like, which is very interesting. Because I can imagine there was definitely a lot of propaganda going on. You look at how the media is being influenced today. Nobody really trusts mainstream media like that nowadays because of stuff like, the people not telling the full story and stuff, not telling the truth. I can imagine back in the day, they were definitely doing stuff like that. And what do you guys think? I'll be curious to see.
Hollywood? Communist. Your next door neighbor's dog? Communist. When the grocery store cashier asks if you need a bag when you clearly can't carry 10 tubs of baconaise in your hands? Communist. But one area in particular where the US had an edge over the Soviet Union was in its espionage technology. In particular, U-2 spy planes flew across Russia carrying out surveillance from the skies.
Wow.
There was a nasty incident in 1960 though, when one was shot down and Khrushchev was furious. Who the hell is this? He's a high-altitude weather enthusiast who flew, of course. Okay, that sounds plausible. Wait a minute.
No way.
Why does he have a gun and a poison needle? Because he's a very naughty high-altitude weather enthusiast. But much to America's concern, the Soviet Union appeared to be ahead in the space race. Everyone freaked out when Russia launched the world's first satellite, and then they actually sent a man into space. Even worse, there also appeared to be a missile gap in the Soviets' favor, and Khrushchev was so confident that he even allowed the US to set up a technology exhibit in Moscow, attended by a certain Vice President Richard Nixon. Check this out. We have color TV. Yes, but we've been to space and can obliterate you with our massive nuclear arsenal. Check out this vegetable peeler. Tensions increased further when both sides upgraded their atomic bombs to hydrogen bombs. And after West Germany was allowed to join NATO in 1955, Khrushchev set up the defensive Warsaw Pact, strengthening the military ties between the Soviet Union and its satellite states. In 1960, Americans decided they wanted a new president who would be tough on communism, so they elected John F. Kennedy. The Soviet Union was advancing its technology, but it was also bleeding its coffers dry, and all of the money was going towards the military, not the people. Life under communism was still as hard as ever, and Berlin remained a thorn in the Soviet side. The contrast between the economically prosperous West and the struggling East was clearer day by day, and East Berliners were still able to freely travel to the West. Now, many of them were deciding to stay there. Millions defected to West Germany via West Berlin, causing Eastern factories to lose workers and taking a heavy toll on the economy. Soviet leaders decided this couldn't continue any longer. First, Khrushchev tried this: leave West Berlin, or else. Or else what? Or else I'll be really mad at you. Yeah, no, we're gonna stay. Listen, man, West Berlin is ours, East Berlin is yours. That's just how it is. Kennedy felt pretty good about his show of American resolve.
Okay,
but wait a second.
He's keeping it 10 toes down. He's holding his ground right there. I see, I guess he's being tough right now. Okay.
That's just how it is. Kennedy felt pretty good about his show of American resolve. But wait a second. Did you catch that? Let's replay it.
East Berlin is yours.
Uh-oh. Kennedy just told Khrushchev that the USA wouldn't interfere in what the Soviets did with their section of Berlin, so Khrushchev came up with a new idea. We're gonna build a wall, and it's gonna be a big, beautiful wall, and it's gonna keep out all the Mexicans. It's gonna keep in the East Berliners. Oh, sorry.
That's
it's
crazy.
going to keep in all the Mexicans.
That's crazy. That's a crazy joke.
On August 13th, 1961, Berliners woke up to find their city divided into two, with barbed wire and guards blocking the border between east and west. Over
This
time,
is-
a wall was constructed throughout the city. Families were torn apart. Thousands would risk their lives escaping over the wall, and hundreds would die trying. To the despair of Berliners, the West were unable to do anything about it, but the wall did put on full display the failure of the communist system. As Kennedy said, democracy is not perfect, but we have never had to put a wall up to keep our people in.
Ooh,
As part of the agreement between the two sides, US diplomats were still allowed to travel to East Berlin, but suddenly, East Berlin crossing guards started giving them the business, and Kennedy was like, nah. In October, the US rolled tanks up to the crossing point at Checkpoint Charlie as a show of strength.
What?
The Soviets did the same, and the two
No
were
way.
in a standoff. They stayed like that for 16 hours, and the world braced for
What?
nuclear Armageddon. Thankfully,
No
though,
way.
Kennedy called Khrushchev their
No way that actually happened. Wait. Whoa. Wheel it back. I'm see. I need to say that again. What?
What? Allowed to travel to East Berlin, but suddenly, East Berlin crossing guards started giving them the business, and Kennedy was like, nah. In October, the US rolled tanks up to the crossing point at Checkpoint Charlie as a show of strength. The Soviets did the same, and the two were in a standoff. They stayed like that for 16 hours, and
That's
the world braced for
wild.
nuclear Armageddon. Thankfully, though, Kennedy called Khrushchev directly and was like, hey man, this is getting way too hot. How about you back your tanks up by an inch and we'll do the same? Sounds good. Okay, how about you back your
No
tanks up by another
way.
inch and we'll follow suit? Alright, hey, you want to do another inch? And they both very slowly inched away from the apocalypse. Phew, let's hope that's the biggest
Imagine.
crisis of my presidency. It wasn't.
It wasn't. No, we're left on a cliffhanger. Oh, you can't make this stuff up. No, this is mad though. This is really, really insane to actually conceptualize right now, because this really did seem tense. I can imagine you're thinking you're on the brink of war, you're on the brink of a nuclear Armageddon, because now they're building of atomic bombs and stuff like that were going on during these times. And then you got the people pulling up in tanks. Now, why is this kind of reminding me of what's going on right now, man? Why is this kind of reminding me what's going on right now? Like, and the crazy part about it as well is I feel like, you know what, the more I'm diving into these videos, the more I'm looking more into things. And again, guys, like, take what I'm saying with a pinch of salt, because what do I know, right? It definitely does kind of come across like if there was going to be some sort of a new war, I feel like it's not going to be as simple as just people fighting on the ground and, like, you know, armies going on. Like it does seem like it's going to be something that will be starting off in these smaller countries, right, where they're doing these proxy wars, and then you see the grumblings getting more tense over time as these proxy wars might start to get a little bit deeper. Do you know what I'm saying? You guys put where the shoe fits. You know what's going on recently when I'm uploading this video. And then, you know, and then you also got like an info war going on, because nowadays you got technology. We all know about how technology can be used to, you know, indoctrinate people. We all know algorithms exist that can reinforce certain things. So you could imagine I can imagine the opponents to, I don't know, the US, or the opponents to Russia, whatever, using the internet to, or at least now, let's say China, wherever it is the country would be, to use the internet to be something that causes the division amongst people within certain societies. You guys put where the shoe fits, and then that division destabilizes countries from the inside. Put where the shoe fits. Do you know what I'm saying? And then, you know, it's like that's what I feel like would be more realistic for some sort of a, like the earlier stages of a war, beginning stages. Obviously, God forbid it gets to a point where it's like nuclear warheads start going off, because I feel like at that point, right, it's done for everyone. But something tells me it's not as simple as that. Something tells me it's going to be a little bit more of kind of what you're seeing, kind of what I'm seeing, kind of what's going on during these times with them doing their whole, maybe some propaganda stuff going on, and then, you know, laws being tightened, you know, militaries, the tanks rolling up, like policies being in place, like wars coming up, like, you know, this is just kind of giving me a little bit of deja vu. I don't know, guys. Am I waffling here? You guys let me know what you think in the comments below. I'd love to know what you guys think about this. Look, let me know if you're excited for part 2, so I'm actually really excited to dive into the next part. yeah, guys, he made this point coming on a red hearts. I know my real ones are. Let me know how this Cold War stuff, because despite all of this that happened, I'm sure a lot of you guys growing up would have been definitely impacted by this in some way. So let me know how this one impacted you guys, how it resonated with you guys. Were you guys tense? Like, do you guys remember this specific point of the tanks rolling up and getting really, really fearful? I don't know, because that does seem really intense. Like, whoa. But yeah, guys. Yeah, let me know what you guys thought about all of this, especially that part. Yeah, guys, look, enough jibber jabber. Look, shout out to you guys that made this point. You guys are real to the real. If you want to see me check out some more kind of historical videos, I've got playlists you can check out at the end of this one and some videos linked. But as always, guys, I've been your boy JayFlex, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.